Hello, Avalor. Welcome to our second episode in our Magic Within podcast from our Elena of Avalor Discord server. Wow, oh my god, what can we say except a huge thank you to everyone who has listened so far. We have had listeners from all across the world. Can you believe it's from Alaska, Australia, Burbank, California, Greece, Mexico, and Vancouver, to name a few? That is amazing. Well, to get started today, I have something I want to talk about that has blown my mind. Hold on to your seats, guys, because this is about to blow off yours. Okay, did anyone else know that Skylar and Luna are cousins? I'm totally geeking out about it. There goes that Luna Skylar Jacqueline wedding. Oh my god. I don't think anyone else knew that, but I'm geeking out about it. That is crazy. Alrighty, now that we have that crazy fact out the way today, let's introduce our podcast princesses. Today we have Chrissy, all the way from New Zealand.
And I'm Jenny from Southern California.
I'm Amelia from Southern Oregon.
I'm Becky from Alaska, but I live in Germany.
I'm Georgia and I'm from Greece.
Woohoo! Hello, guys. Wherever you're listening tonight, we have an awesome episode for you all. I'm talking discussions, plots, character spotlight. Also, guys, we have some information on the Melandros and some amazing activities that you're going to want to get your hands on. So make sure you get comfy, listen in, because it's Guapo time! Okay. First things first, while the royal family is away, who is looking after Avalor?
Well, Armando.
Of course, Armando.
Armando? Okay, guys. Armando of Avalor. Okay. Let's get started with our discussion on this amazing episode and hilarious episode tonight. The Tides of Change, directed by Nathan Chu and the brilliant EOA team.
So, the episode opens up, of course, with our favorite Garden Gnome Fiero, well-deserved Garden Gnome Fiero.
You gotta admit, he does make a good statue.
I know, perfect bird perch. And the episode starts off with Mateo and Elena scepter training, and she is learning a new power called Bloom. Of course, in the middle of all her training, she completely, in typical Elena fashion, forgets about the meeting she called herself.
I think she was having too much fun.
All right, so Elena calls out a Grand Council meeting. She suggests that they should make officially the Serenas their allies. The grandparents immediately agree. They're happy that they make a pact with the Serenas. Esteban is a bit hesitant, while Naomi is completely against this. However, Esteban decides that it's great idea to actually give them a chance, probably thinking about his past deeds and how he has changed so far. So, yay for character development! Meanwhile, Naomi is really belligerent about it. She doesn't even change her mind when the entire council suggests they should make friends with the Serenas. So far that she actually goes against Elena, and that's the first time we see her so against Elena, even back in All Heated Up. Despite disagreeing with Elena, she went to help her.
All right, and then we see Elena and her Milagros swimming to see King Poscoro, and instantly when she's going down, she sets off the coral alarm. And of course, Daria and Ocho come swimming up to her to explain to her what the alarm is, and that is only for Sirenas, or if you're accompanied by Sirenas, which leads us into our next point where she goes to see King Poscoro.
And of course, like Naomi, Daria is very against this treaty. She expresses that quite clearly from the beginning.
Yeah, and then Queen Camila and Marisa are clearly for the treaty. I really liked Camila's lines first about how she mentioned that she wanted to reconnect with her human family. I thought that was interesting because in the last episode, I had actually wondered if she even remembered. So I'm curious to see if we'll find out who they are in the future. And also her comment about forgiving Pescoro for sinking her ship just kind of made me laugh.
Can I also add too that I just love that both Marissa and Camelia kind of just have Pescoro like wrapped around their little fingers, and that they can basically make him do whatever they want by just joining forces and like going at him together. I just thought that was really funny.
He doesn't stand a chance. Yeah, that was really funny. Following the scene where Pescoro decides that he agrees more with his wife and daughter than with his reef commander, we see Daria swimming away. And she alludes to an incident that apparently happened years before, where we assume she was attacked by humans, and she was actually scarred. So it seems like that left a really big just mark on her, physically and emotionally. And I thought that was a really interesting contrast to what we found out soon after about Naomi's reservations. Naomi was so upset about a second-hand story that she heard years after about something that happened before she was even born. Naomi was upset that her grandfather died and she never got to meet him. I just thought that was a really interesting comparison.
Definitely. And then we see Daria is so mad. She swims off to make a deal with the Melandros. You see her transitioning from the ocean to the river, where we end up on a shipwreck. And I just thought that design was beautiful.
So we have our two Melandros introduced, played by Steve Buscemi and Ralph Garman as Saloso and Torpe, respectively. And I must say that the voice acting is great. I mean, you have these big stars playing these hilarious characters, and the timing is so spot on. I think the comedy is just getting better and better in this series.
Definitely. It was so funny to listen to them.
Oh yeah, they did a great job.
And the jokes were just like, the timing was just perfect.
Definitely Godfather vibes.
Definitely. And then we have the character design. I thought the Melandros were just really cool looking. I did a little bit of research for something I'm going to talk about later and found out that the river dolphins, the Melandros, they actually look exactly like the Amazon river dolphins that truly exist, like to the long snouts, the pink skin. Did anyone notice that Saloso has Steve Buscemi's eyes?
Yes! Oh my god, I did! All right, and then we see Daria and the Melandros strike a deal, which was to go back and shapeshift, for the Melandros to shapeshift into a human and Sirena, and for the humans to witness the Sirena singing, and that the humans would be absolutely disgusted and go back on the peace treaty, that it was a no deal. In which we see Daria leaving, and she needs to turn off the coral alarms. And then, of course, we see one of the Melandros following her to actually destroy the alarms, because the alarms are which drives the Melandros away. And which cuts to our next scene, which is probably the episode, where we see the Sirena, which is actually the Melandro, singing, and we see the other Melandro on the ship yelling out, "It's a Sirena, he's singing," and everyone going into chaos and panic because they're going back on the word, they're singing, and then we see, of course, Naomi getting so angry about it, like, they're singing, she's grabbing a net.
And then all of the Sirenas retreat and go back to their Coronado, where they find the Melandros waiting for them. Which leads into the amazing song.
You better believe I'm getting more than you bargained for.
So Saloso even gets the song of the episode. We witness Steve Buscemi using this amazing voice of his to sing the Art of the Steal, a really catchy number, when Melandros actually invade the Sirena Palace and talk about how they managed to actually fool Daria into making a deal with them. I think it was a really, really nice song number. It was a bit shorter than the usual Elena of Avalor songs, but it was really fun.
So then we get blessed with the best part of the entire episode. I'm just kidding. But the boys get to go on an underwater adventure with Elena. They both get their own designer Milagro t-shirts.
That's awesome. Club shirts, squad shirts.
Guns out, right, ladies?
Woo!
Oh my gosh, yes.
Anyways, they got to wear these adorable little kelp shirts, I thought that was adorable. We're not used to seeing them in so little clothes, I think, even though. Anyways, they go on this adventure with her, and, for a second, I was actually kind of surprised that Naomi, I hate to use this word because I don't like this word. It's so un-Naomi. but she sort of abandons them in a way. She knows that they're off to do this mission, and even though her friends are going, choosing to go and help the Serenas, she chooses not to. She's pretty stubborn about that fact. She doesn't want. She gives us her story of what happened, but she's pretty 100% sure that she's not joining her friends. I mean, she was a little bit wrong in how she feels, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do think she kind of overreacted about a second-hand story, especially. But all right, her feelings are valid, but she was always by her friend's side, even if that meant she would get hurt in the process. So it did surprise me as well.
Yeah, me too. I was a little surprised that if she was that suspicious that Marissa was lying, that she didn't just go along to make sure her friend stayed safe. Kind of like with Rita, remember how she was just so suspicious and she was like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on her. She didn't do the same thing here. She just chose to stay behind.
Yeah, it was kind of a throwback back to those episodes like Rise of the Sorceress, where she herself wasn't exactly happy when Elena really didn't listen to her concerns, yet she kind of didn't want to hear their side in this episode.
That's a good point.
All right, so Elena and the team, Mateo and Gabe, go to help the Serenas against the Malandros. Daria is surprised they come to help. Actually, Gabe helps her out of the kelp they have trapped her in. And she tells them that they should not join the fight since this is not their fight to join. However, Elena replies that that's what allies are for. And that's when Daria realizes that she can trust the Avalorans, and the peace treaty will help both sides protect themselves. So they win over her respect and allegiance.
Definitely. And then we see Elena jumping into action with her scepter, and she's using her power bloom that we saw in the beginning of the episode with Mateo, which she was practicing. And of course, her scepter's still a bit faulty. She's trying to say bloom, bloom, but it's not, the coral alarm's not growing as she'd hoped it had. I personally think the purpose of the power is harnessing light, like photosynthesis, since the scepter is light. And I just think that it was really, really cool that even though she got trapped by the Melandros in the end, she was able to grab her scepter and go bloom. And of course, the coral alarm grew and it started to sound its song. And then, of course, we see the Melandros go away because they can't obviously handle the alarm. And I thought that was really, really cool.
I just wanted to throw in that I'm interested in the faultiness of the scepter. I'm curious if it's been corrupted by the scepter of night and if there's going to be a way to, cleanse it, fix it, or if this is going to be the jump off point for Elena to learn how to harness her magic in other ways in the future.
Oh, good point, Becky.
Extremely interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so, after all that, they finally get to sign the peace treaty and have their beach party, which is important. But I also really so Elena says that when they're signing the treaty that she knows that even though not all the Sirenas and not all the humans get along, she knows that there's still some hostility, but she says that we have to start somewhere. And so that's when they start to sign the treaty. And I thought that was just a really good point because I feel like that can also apply to things nowadays and a bunch of different other situations. And so I just really like that they were both taking that step forward and signing the treaty despite the hostility they knew that could probably still be there present between both the Sirenas and the humans. And then you can't forget the kelp tacos. It was so, I love how, the Sirenas are like, oh, we can only eat seaweed and kelp. And so Lena's like, oh, we'll find a recipe for them. And of course, they come up with, kelp tacos out of everything. But I think that's so classic. So I loved it.
Crunchy kelp tacos.
Yes.
All right, everyone. It is time to spill the beans. I want to know, what was your favorite part? Chrissy?
Oh my gosh, my favorite was the animation. The vibrant colors that are used are so beautiful in the sadness, especially on Daria. I noticed as well her beautiful black and red tail. Absolutely beautiful. I think we mentioned it last time, but it just reminded me of koi fish and guppies are absolutely beautiful. And of course, my favorite is kelp tacos. Can we get the recipe, please? They look so yummy.
Jenny?
Would it be too predictable of me to say that my favorite part of the episode was the Malagra muscle shirts?
It's perfect.
Okay, anyways, I'm gonna say that was one of my favorite parts. Of course, like it's gonna sound so kind of silly, but my favorite part was the opening, seeing Fiyero as the garden statue yet again. This is the second time we see him as a garden statue in the beginning of an episode.
He deserves that.
So true.
Amelia?
So I'd have to say my favorite part is probably kind of like Jenny. I really like the boys when they were working together, and I really like how well their teamwork is. Like, from the beginning of the series, they were always fighting, weren't very compatible, but now you can see that they work effortlessly together, and that they're really good team, and they're a really good team, and they're really good at it. And so I just like seeing that type of character progression and stuff like that. So that was probably my favorite.
Georgia?
Well, it probably comes to no one's surprise that my favorite part is the one in the Grand Council when Esteban decides to make the pact with the Serenas. And he mentions how everyone deserves a second chance to make amends for past deeds. So that shows so much development on his part, so much growth. He's become much more forgiving and willing to listen to Elena. And I also really loved how he actually was worried that he would make Naomi upset. Remember back in episode, I don't know, 1 and 6, when he was really against her even being in the council. That was really fun, in my opinion.
And I guess that just leaves me, and I'm going to be really predictable and say that I really loved seeing the boys going on that underwater adventure with Elena. Like Amelia said, I just really enjoyed seeing their teamwork and just how they all work together so well. Plus, it was just, I just really love those friendship moments. They totally have her back no matter what. And that was just perfect to me.
Yeah, it's really sweet in a way.
Cute little high five at the end.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you died.
Oh, and what can I say? What a beautiful episode, from the storyline to the most catchy song and the absolute stunning animation as always. Plus the one-liners and the amazing voice acting made this episode hilarious. AOA team, you guys all rock. And I all want to say right now is I want to count taco. Okay, moving on to our character spotlight tonight. Georgia, take it away.
So today's character spotlight is, drumroll, Naomi, our favorite young councilwoman and one of Elena's best friends. So Naomi started as the girl from the board. She did not have much experience in royal affairs, but now she's one of Elena's most trusty allies. She has actually experienced quite the growth throughout the series. First, she always had a strong opinion on Grand Council matters, but she has become much more experienced. She's always there to offer her advice and tell Elena what is the best option in her opinion. And Elena, on the other hand, always considers what her friend has to say. I also have to point out that Naomi almost always, other than this episode where we saw her reservations, always has Elena's back. And despite not having magical abilities herself or having any combat training like Gabe does, she's willing to always get in dangerous situations with her. That being said, the other most important thing about Naomi is that she really considers family to be the most important thing. Remember back in Captain Turner Returns, when she was really willing to actually give up her life in Avalor and her prospects of becoming someone special, something that's really important for her, according to Finders Leapers, to actually be with her mother and father and have their family time. So it doesn't surprise me that she was really pissed in this episode about losing her grandfather to that Sirena attack. However, Naomi always is there to have her friends back, so I don't think that's much of a problem for her.
Oh, Georgia, they are very, very good points and very good observations. Talking about observations, how on point were the EOA team with the Melandros animation? We actually have a very, very special segment tonight. That and any Elena of Avalor fan, you guys want to hear this, the Latino legends and lore of the Melandros. Dun, dun, dun. Take it away, Becky.
Thanks, Chrissy. So, in this episode, we learn about the Melandros, evil, shape-shifting river dolphins, who their biggest desire, I guess, is to take over the Sirena Kingdom, which brings us to one of the many things I love about this show, is the way they weave actual traditions, legends, and lore into the stories. Now, I just wanted to take a moment to mention that I think it's important to recognize the difference between drawing information from these legends and copying them verbatim. In most cases, it seems they draw inspiration from these traditions and myths. And I'm just guessing here, I don't have any inside information or anything, but I think they do this to give themselves some amount of creative freedom to make the legends fit their stories.
Actually, that might be a good thing, since a lot of these stories, just like traditional fairy tales, like, you know, The Little Mermaid and Rapunzel and all that, they're actually a little bit darker than how they turn out in the movies.
Exactly. And in the case of these Melandros, well, let's just say that if they used the legend exactly as is tradition, we'd have a bunch of illegitimate children running around Nueva Vista thanks to the playboy shape-shifting dolphin men who pop out of the river whenever someone throws a party.
Oh my goodness, that is so creepy.
Isn't it? But my point is that when the writers use these legends as inspiration, it still gives us the gist of the legend, a taste of it as you would, while keeping it appropriate and fun for their target audience. But that doesn't mean we can't take a look at the origin of these legends. So I started my search with the word malandro and found out that it is a Portuguese term with a lot of cultural significance in Brazil. Basically, it's a person who is smooth, cunning, streetwise. They're kind of a trickster and often very likable and charismatic.
So, wait, kind of like a Flynn Rider type character from Tangled?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, actually. It's a good point. And in this case, this idea was used to create these gangster Godfather type characters, which, in my opinion, worked really well for this story. I sent out a tweet a few weeks ago about this, and Craig Gerber was actually kind enough to respond, and thanks, by the way, Mr. Gerber. He explained that the Melandros were inspired by the Brazilian myth of the shape-shifting river dolphins called the Encantado. They are also sometimes called the Boto, which, from what I read, is the name of the real-life dolphin species that lives in the Amazon River. And these dolphins are sometimes considered friends to fishermen, and it's been said that they have rescued victims of drowning from the river. But it's also said that if you look into the eyes of a Boto, you will suffer nightmares for the rest of your life.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
So don't look into their eyes. More commonly known and widespread, though, is these dolphins will shift into handsome, charming men dressed in white, looking for a good time at a party or festival.
I think that maybe Soloso might need a bit more in his human form then.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I have to agree with you there. Legend also warns of meeting such strangers at parties because they'll lure away beautiful young women for various reasons.
You know, that's actually good advice for anyone, regardless of what they look like. Stranger danger.
Yes, this is true.
Though, I must say that if Soloso decides that he's going to start frequenting human parties in Nueva Vista looking the same as he did in last week's episode, I don't think the mamas are going to have much to worry about as far as their daughters running away with him. Just saying.
Well, he is voiced by Steve Buscemi, though.
It's true.
That's a pro.
They might run after the voice. And on that note, my work here is done. Chrissy?
No, I don't think Nueva Vista has much to worry about from these Melandros. Though speaking of Nueva Vista, I heard that Team Avalor is still going to be there in the next episode, The Return of El Capitan, that is premiering on Disney Junior Saturday, October the 27th. So now let's turn the mic over to Amelia, so we can talk about some of our crazy and not so crazy theories. Amelia?
Oh, yes. Do we have theories and speculations? But I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we're all extremely excited for this episode. And according to what's been released by the Elena of Avalor team, we know that the episode takes place on Dia de los Muertos and that it's about Elena and her abuelo, Francisco, which I'm like super excited to see because I think it's been a while since we've had a Francisco centered episode, you know? But I'm really stoked for it. And anyway, Elena and Francisco team up with two of his old friends, El Guerrero and El Místico, to complete a mission that they had started many years ago and were not able to complete. But then that leaves us all to wonder, what could this mission be? Which, of course, brings us to some of our interesting theories. One thought we had was that maybe Francisco and his old friends had the goal of being a sensational Avalor boy band in their youth and are setting out to complete and they're setting out to complete that dream because, you know, Francisco likes to play music and I'm sure his friends are probably musically talented as well. So like serious Coco vibes, yeah?
Yeah.
Totally.
But then we also started speculating about the fact that Francisco doesn't know about Elena's powers to see ghosts. So how is he going to react to her ability to seeing his old friends? And like, will he even be able to see them at all? Like,
Oh, that's so sad if you think that Francisco and Luisa spent 41 years in that painting. All their old friends are probably long gone now.
All right. I really hope Francisco can somehow see his friends just for that reason.
I hope so
yes,
too.
totally. Which brings us to another speculation that maybe Elena will gain a new scepter power that'll maybe let others see ghosts too, possibly. And like, if that does happen, will Francisco be all chill and interested like Mateo was in the Jewel Maru? Or do you think he'd like freak out a little bit that his granddaughter can see spirits like only on Dia de los Muertos?
Oh my goodness. I think he would probably freak out, and for good reason. Might even be a little nervous, but he's Francisco. He'll probably just accept it in the end. He's pretty level-headed, most of the time. And he was the proud abuelo back in Scepter of Light when he first discovered she had magic. So I think his awe of her magic will probably outweigh his worry.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And also, I can't help but wonder if like Raul and Lucia will make another appearance, and if anyone besides Elena will get to see them again too.
You know, that would just be so sweet. And even if just the rest of the family knew that they were there and really see them, they probably, just knowing that they were close to them would probably really make their day.
Oh, definitely. Like I can just picture the altar all decorated with everyone surrounding it in their beautiful costumes, just knowing that Raul and Lucia are there. It would be such a beautiful scene if it were to actually happen. But speaking of beautiful and amazing, the costumes. So far, we've seen all the royal family's costumes, plus Mateo's. Although by this point, I feel like he's already considered part of the royal family. But which leaves us to wonder, will we get to see Gabe and Naomi in some Dia de los Muertos gear too? Because I really hope so, mainly because I want to see some more brilliant costume designs. And I feel like each costume is different and unique to each person. So I wonder if Gabe and Naomi would have costumes with flowers and bones on them like the rest of the costumes we've seen, or would they have face paint or a costume with maybe different colors or patterns, or there's just so many different styles and options out there. So if we do get to see those two in costume, I guess we'll just have to wait until the episode to find out what they really look like.
Just one more reason I can't wait to see another Dia de los Muertos masterpiece from the EOA team. Okay, guys, do you know what time it is? It's Twitter time. Let's talk about our question that we asked you, the listeners, on our last podcast. Is Queen Camila Elena's auntie? We had some amazing responses on our Twitter page. At DisPrincess3, she had a very interesting take on the question with her response. I think they're related, and if not, she probably knew Elena's aunt. Portrait in the episode shows Christabel's parents, my assumptions, and Christabel probably would have mentioned he lost his mother too. And I'm curious about her human life. And we had at RealJA thought that they were unrelated. And on our Instagram page, we had an alluding comment from Nathan Chu. He simply said, We really don't know what to make of that. I, however, definitely think that Camilla is Elaine's auntie and that she fell from her uncle's ship all those years ago. Quote that, you heard that here first. Speaking of awesome social media pages, Jenny, do you have some amazing things to share with us tonight?
I actually do. So let's talk about some things coming up on our social media pages like Instagram. Well, starting with Instagram. Where in the world is Team Avalor? So we kind of want you to go out and tag us in your photo of your Avaloran dolls, whether it be your Elena of Avalor, well, not Barbies, dolls, your Funko Pops, your little itty bitty Elena of Avalor dolls, whatever you have. Take a picture anywhere you are in the city, in your country, anywhere in the world, and tag us. And you can get a chance to be featured on our Instagram page, which, woohoo! Who doesn't want that, right? I'm going to be posting a link to a quiz that our own Amelia started up here. Which character are you? Okay, so I'm going to share that link over on our unofficial podcast Twitter, and let us know who you ended up being. Also, we have a new question this week. Do you think that Naomi was justified in her objections to working with the sit-in? Go ahead and send us your tweet with what you guys think over at our podcast page.
Woohoo, guys. I am so excited. Don't forget to hit subscribe on our podcast to keep up to date with all of our fun and crazy discussions. And also remember to check out our Twitter page at Magic Within PC to do our Which Elena character are you? And make sure to share your results. Are you or Elena or an Esteban? And get your Team Avalor dolls ready for their glamour shots in Where in the World is Team Avalor segment on Instagram, where you could get a chance to be featured on our Instagram page. Tag us at the Magic Within Squad and hashtag the Magic Within Squad to be in a chance to win. Until next time, wings up, amigos. Bye.
Bye.